Here's something that will give you chills. Imagine being down by 17 points in an elimination playoff game on enemy territory with your season hanging by a thread. Most teams would fold. Most teams would accept defeat. But the Minnesota Lynx, they just delivered what might be the most heart-stopping comeback in recent WNBA playoff memory. Breaking down the Lynx's miraculous turnaround against Golden State, when the scoreboard read 63-49 in favor of the Golden State Valkyries heading into the final quarter Wednesday night, even the most optimistic Lynx fans probably started mentally preparing for a Game 3 back home. The team looked completely out of sync for 3 straight quarters at the SAP Center in San Jose, struggling to find any offensive rhythm while their usually stellar defense seemed to have taken the night off. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. And this is the part most casual basketball fans completely miss about playoff basketball. The fourth quarter wasn't just a comeback. It was a masterclass in veteran composure under the most intense pressure imaginable. Led by Bridget Carleton, who had already given fans a preview of what was coming with back-to-back three-pointers to open the third quarter, the Lynx suddenly transformed into the championship-caliber team that reached last year's WNBA Finals. The numbers tell an incredible story. Minnesota outscored Golden State 26-11 in that final 10-minute stretch, turning what seemed like certain defeat into a stunning 75-74 victory that eliminated the expansion Valkyries and secured a 2-0 series sweep. How the veterans stole the show when it mattered most. What made this comeback so special wasn't just the point differential. It was how the experienced players stepped up exactly when their team needed them most. Kayla McBride, who had been relatively quiet for most of the game, suddenly caught fire and dropped 8 crucial points in the fourth quarter. Napheesa Collier, despite facing constant double teams throughout the first half, managed to contribute 6 points in the final frame, while finishing with an impressive stat line of 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. Then there's DiJonai Carrington, who decided to remind everyone why three-point shooting can change everything in playoff basketball by nailing a pair of clutch threes when the pressure was at its peak. But here's where it gets controversial, and basketball purists are going to have strong opinions about this. Courtney Williams had been struggling all night, shooting a dismal 2 of 8 from the field, and playing so ineffectively that head coach Cheryl Reeve kept her on the bench until there were less than 3 minutes remaining. Yet when Williams finally got her chance, she delivered the shot that essentially sealed the victory. A perfectly executed 16-footer with just 29.5 seconds left on the clock that gave Minnesota a 75-72 lead. Was this brilliant coaching strategy keeping a struggling player fresh for the most crucial moments? Or was it a risky gamble that just happened to pay off? The debate among basketball analysts is already heating up. The defining moment that changed everything. If you had to pinpoint the exact moment when this game shifted from a Golden State celebration to a Minnesota miracle, it was when Napheesa Collier buried a 17-foot jumper with less than 5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. That shot gave the Lynx a 73-72 lead, and more importantly, it was the lead they would never relinquish. For basketball newcomers, this is what separates good players from great ones: the ability to make difficult shots when the entire season is on the line, when thousands of opposing fans are screaming, and when the margin for error is essentially zero. A bizarre final sequence that had everyone scratching their heads, and this is the part most people miss when they look at the final box score. The last 24 seconds were absolutely bizarre, even by playoff standards. The Lynx had possession, leading 75-74, with Golden State holding a foul to give, meaning they could foul without putting Minnesota in the bonus free throw situation. In this scenario, conventional basketball wisdom says the trailing team should foul immediately to stop the clock and force the leading team to make free throws. But Golden State didn't foul. Minnesota, perhaps caught off guard by this decision, seemed to lose track of time and let the shot clock expire without attempting a shot, essentially giving the ball back to the Valkyries with 4 seconds remaining. It was a double head-scratcher that left fans and analysts wondering if both teams had momentarily forgotten basic playoff strategy. Fortunately for the Lynx, former Minnesota player Cecilia Zandalicini missed her final shot attempt as time expired, allowing the comeback to stand. What this victory really means for Minnesota's championship hopes: by sweeping this series 2-0, the Lynx have accomplished something crucial that goes beyond just advancing to the next round. While the first 3 playoff series this year saw teams that fell behind 0-1 bouncing back with home victories, Minnesota refused to let that pattern continue. They closed out the series on the road, in hostile territory, which sends a powerful message about their championship mentality. Now they get to rest and watch as the defending champion New York Liberty battles Alyssa Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury in their decisive Game 3 on Friday. The winner of that matchup will travel to Minnesota for Game 1 of the next round on Sunday. The real MVP performance that deserves more recognition, while Napheesa Collier rightfully earned MVP recognition for this game, and many argue she should win the entire WNBA MVP award this season, her performance was even more impressive when you consider the circumstances. Despite being constantly double-teamed in the first half and watching her team fall behind by 17 points, Collier never lost confidence in her ability to impact the game. Her final numbers of 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal don't tell the complete story of how she willed her team back into contention when everything seemed lost. But here's the question that's going to divide basketball fans. Was this comeback a result of superior Minnesota talent and composure, or did Golden State simply choke under the pressure of their first ever playoff series as an expansion team? The Valkyries, playing in front of their home crowd and holding what seemed like a comfortable lead, managed to score only 11 points in the final quarter against a Lynx defense that had looked vulnerable for the previous 30 minutes. What do you think? Was this more about Minnesota's championship experience shining through, or Golden State's inexperience showing at the worst possible moment? And here's an even more controversial take. Does this kind of collapse suggest that expansion teams aren't ready for the intensity of playoff basketball? Or does it prove that veteran leadership is still the most valuable asset in professional sports? The beauty of playoff basketball is that these questions don't have easy answers, and that's exactly what makes comebacks like this one so unforgettable. Share your thoughts. Have you ever witnessed a more dramatic fourth-quarter turnaround? And do you think the Lynx now have the momentum to make a serious championship run?